as I'm sitting there listening to you talk about some of the things that Nelson taught us, there's a lot going on out there, especially on the internet, where people are teaching infinite banking not the way that Nelson taught us. And I think it's great to be on here with a bunch of people and show you really the way Nelson intended infinite banking to work, and the way that he showed us how it should work. And I always like to start here, Justin, is we've all played this game, Monopoly, right? And maybe we're playing games right now because we're under quarantine or whatever, but I'm going to show you how to win every Monopoly game that you ever play against people that don't know how to play. Because when most people play, Justin, they look at this. They look at the dollars on the side of the board. We look around, and whoever's got the most money on the side of the board, we think, wow, that they're winning. But there's only one rule of Monopoly that matters, and that rule is 4 houses equal a hotel. And it doesn't matter if I have this side of the board or this corner or this side or this side. Is if I get hotels on my properties, Justin, I'm going to bankrupt all the other players, take all their properties. I'm going to win, right? And you ever feel like, Justin, that there are people out there in the real world that are playing the game of money, and they're playing so well, you don't even realize they're playing. Ever feel like that?
Yeah. Exactly.
So what most people are trying to do is something like this, is they think that the goal is to climb the mountain, right? To ascend the mountain. Now, excuse me, Justin. Justin, if you're going to go climb a mountain, is the goal to get to the top of the mountain?
That's the first thing that comes to mind. Yeah, you want to ascend it and get to the peak.
That's right. Well, and if you ask anybody who was the first person to climb Mount Everest, they always say Sir Edmund Hillary, right? But Sir Edmund Hillary didn't climb Mount Everest. It was just Edmund Hillary. He wasn't knighted until he got down safely, right? So, but 30 years before that, there was 2 other people that made it to the top. It's kind of it's debatable whether they made it to the top, but a lot of people believe they made it to the top and they froze on the way down. And you never hear of those people. I think his name was George Mallory. You don't hear about George Mallory, and it's not Sir George Mallory, because he didn't make it down safely. So when we think about accumulating money over our lifetime in those vehicles that you mentioned earlier that are government controlled, right, is we think that we're going to get to this top, and then we're going to have enough money that we're going to live on it the rest of our lives until we get down here and we die, and we never ran out of money. But there's a lot of potential problems. If I'm in retirement right now, Justin, after the last 5 or 6 weeks, I'm nervous. Do I have enough money, right? So there's a lot of things like distribution rates. A lot of people think, back in the 80s, we thought, in the 90s, Justin, we thought that 10% was a good distribution rate. Now, it changes a lot, because today, distribution rates, if you use the Monte Carlo method, are really between 3 and 4%. How about sequence of returns? What if you retired in February of this year? Are you in trouble? Yeah, you got really unlucky on sequence of returns. How about bad advice? You ever heard of a financial planner giving somebody bad advice? Or just being wrong, or just not knowing what they're doing? That never happens, right? So how a government changes, you brought up a great one. Taxes are going to change. What if I'm just distributing my 401k right now, and I think, hey, I'm going to be in the 36% tax bracket forever? Well, we can show through history that that's probably not going to happen. Here's my point, is that with K2 and Mount Everest, 56% of the people that die climbing those mountains die on the way down. So this is not really the goal. To me, if I had my assets working for me, once I got to the, quote, top of the mountain, I would just want to keep going up. I would just want to keep on. I wouldn't want to have that scarcity mindset of distribution. I just want to have that abundant mindset of more assets that are going to give me more income. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. But we have to realize where we are, okay? There are really 4 types of people. So which one are you? You could be the employee, right? And you exchange your time for income. You can either work for wages or fixed salary or, or both. But typically, now, unless you're really one of those lucky employees that's going to get a buyout or something, or stock options or whatever it is, you're never going to get really wealthy as an employee. So then, like you said, we have a lot of doctors on the call, business owners, but they're really owned by the business, right? There's a high startup cost. I mean, think about how much debt doctors go into. Could go to school for 17 years or so, depending on your specialty. And, there's a high rate of failure if you're just going to go start your own business with no blueprint or plan. Your income's capped by your hours. You don't own the business owns you. And you're never really going to be truly wealthy or free. I always like to say, and I know you like to say this, and maybe I got it from you, Justin, is money gives you choices, choices give you freedom. That's really why we want to be wealthy, is so that we can have freedom to do what we want to do when we want to do it. And that's what a true business owner, where they have plugins to an existing system and they get cash flow and the employees generate their income for the owner, has unlimited income potential and a chance for true freedom. And then the 4th quadrant, which is the investor, right? They're making money while they sleep. Now, one thing is, I hope everybody on this phone call has an infinite banking insurance policy, or specifically designed and properly designed insurance contract, because you haven't lost $1 in the last 5 or 6 weeks in these contracts. I sleep great at night knowing my policies are growing every night, Justin. I know you do as well. But this is unlimited income potential and a chance for true freedom. Now, which one are you right now, and which one do you want to be? Because, look, if I'm an orthopedic surgeon and I'm self-employed, I'm not going to stop being an orthopedic surgeon, but I sure want to be an investor. And, yeah, show me an opportunity to be a business owner, and I want to do that as well, right? The poor, the people, and what really it's the people working for their money, reside on this side, and the rich, where their money's working for them, they reside on the right side of the quadrant. So we all want to be over here. We all just want our money working for us, and we don't have to go to work and work for our money, and we get to do what we want to do when we want to do it. And for the guys out there, when I say guys, by the way, I mean men or women that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s. I mean, retirement is not the goal, right? Financial freedom is the goal. And I don't think, Justin, the young people that I'm working with these days, they see that. They know that's not the goal. They know it's financial freedom. Okay, so how can the average person take advantage of B and I on that side of the quadrant and create personal wealth really rapidly without spending a fortune, without the high risk of failure, like you said, on the investment side, and have fun in the process? Well, we really truly believe it's through infinite banking. And to do infinite banking, you really have to think. Now, why do I say that? We take that from our mentor, Nelson Nash, who would say, it's all about how you think. But then we found this quote that says 5% of the people think, 10% think they think, Justin, and the other 85% would rather die than think. Now, I don't understand that, honestly, because I think that the only way to make this work is to think differently from the herd and break away, kind of like that podcast. No, I'm just kidding. So let's kind of bring all this together. Okay, now, for the guys out there that are doing infinite banking, this might be this might be remedial or basic, but just bear with me, because I'm gonna put a spin on this, Justin. Now, we're gonna go get a policy, right, from a mutual insurance company. Now, the reason a mutual insurance company is because there's really two types of insurance company. There's a stock company that's owned by shareholders, and there's a mutual company which is owned by policyholders. Both of them are required by law to distribute the profits of the business to the owners. So we want to be an owner, right? So we have this policy, and we have cash value in it. By the way, that cash value is growing every day uninterrupted, and that's what that blue line to the left is, okay? It's growing every day. Guaranteed, Justin, just like the words you used, which is what we're looking for, guaranteed. Now, because we own this insurance company, our insurance policy gives us a contractual right to get an interest-only loan from the insurance company, okay? Their money. Remember, our money stays in here and grows uninterrupted. It never leaves. And you want to act like your own banker, right? Now, Justin, 95% of licensed insurance people don't know this next thing. When you take a loan, your money doesn't go anywhere. They put a lien on your cash value, and every dollar that they put a lien, they give you one of their dollars. Sounds fair, right? So remember, my money's in here growing every single day, uninterrupted. And by the way, am I paying tax on that growth? I'm not paying tax on the growth. It's growing tax-free, okay? Now I'm going to take the insurance company's dollars, and I'm going to buy some real estate, okay? Now this real estate, now remember, I'm still earning an income that I was earning to fund this insurance policy, but this is going to earn some money. So I'm going to assume that I don't need all of that money or any of it to live off of. I'm going to flow it back to the insurance company, which, by the way, it's an interest-only loan, so I don't have to do that. It's unstructured. Now, let me ask you a question, Justin. This is the way I look at that loan. If I would loan you $100 million today, and your only obligation was that you had to pay me $5 million of interest in 1 year from today, would you take the loan?
Twice.
Twice, that's right.
Yes.
All right, so let's play along for a minute. Let's say that you made me that same deal, okay? And by the way, I'm open to it as well if you're offering. You're going to loan me $100 million. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to go leverage the bank's money, and I'm going to go buy $500 million worth of real estate, okay? Now, let's just assume that I can net, after debt load, everything else, I'm going to net 5% on my real estate, my $500,000 of real estate, after my debt load. So I meet with you a year from today, and by the way, I'm going to buy lunch, okay? And I'm going to write you a check for $5 million. Now, I got $20 million that just went into my bank account, right? Are we, we're still good. And you're going to say, hey, do you want to pay down some of that principal? And I said, no, I think I'm good, right? That's what you can do, the same thing that you're going to be doing with the insurance contract. Because what's going to happen is this money's going to flow back to the insurance company. It's going to reduce your lien, increase your net cash value that you have available. So what are you going to do, Justin? You're going to do it again, right?
Do it again. Do it again.
Yeah, I'm going to take another loan. I'm going to buy some more real estate. I'm going to buy maybe a business. I'm going to buy whatever it is. Now, normally when somebody shows you infinite banking, and this is really great and important and valuable, is they show you how to pay for your cars or your vacations or, major purchases. And that's all great. I use my infinite banking system for that too. But what I want to talk about is as we start to get this money flowing back, this money gets all these different assets flow back, flow back, flow back. We get all this cash flow. If I'm going out and buying assets, Justin, do I want that money to flow back to my bank or somebody else's bank? My bank, because
That's
what's the
whole
bank?
idea. Absolutely.
That's right. So what would the commercial bank do with that money when they got it back? They'd loan it out again.
In motion.
That's right. They'd put it in motion and they create velocity of money, right? Excuse me. So as this money goes back and this whole thing goes faster and faster and faster, this little play, we make more money and more money and more money. Now, what's going to happen, Justin, is this policy is going to get full of cash and it's not going to hold anymore. And I'm going to have to go out and I'm going to have to get more policies and more policies and more policies. And Nelson at one time had 49 policies is the number that I remember him telling me. And 49 policies. And I got up at Think Tank this February and I asked, and there were people in the room that had over 40 or 50 policies, at least a couple, right? A lot of people that had over 5 or 10 policies. Now, this isn't because your advisor wants to sell you more life insurance, but think about this. If I'm using this for a business like real estate, okay, which is a great place to put your money, this interest, Justin, I know you can't give tax advice, but that's probably going to be deductible, right? And
good chance.
It's a good chance. And if your CPA says it's not deductible, then give us a call. We'll find you another CPA. No, I'm just kidding. But this is, if you're borrowing the insurance company's money. Okay. Now, so the money that you're paying is deductible and the money you're earning is tax-free. How many things in your life, Justin, do you have like that?
Yeah.
Not,
and it goes back, Jim, to understanding what the problem was so you could recognize the solution, having the right storehouse, having the right tool, and then using that to build assets, not leaving it stagnant.
Absolutely. And, like you said, a lot of business owners don't want to buy instruments. They want to buy assets. They understand assets. They understand that their business, et cetera. So now, Justin, normally I would have to choose one of these two sides of this ledger. If this was my savings account, like you said earlier, I'd have to decide, do I want my savings account or do I want this real estate? And I have to part with my money or my 401k or my IRA. I mean, forget about whether I have to pay penalties and everything else. But if I have an opportunity, I have to decide, I want this or I want to keep the money in the account that it's in. Justin, with infinite banking, we get both. We get both sides of the ledger. Our money grows in a tax-sheltered policy, right? Growing tax-free, potentially taking all that money out tax-free, right? And I get all of these assets. I get both. Now, where else can I do that? Okay, so does that make sense, Justin? Anything to add there?
Yeah, no, here's one thing that I definitely want to, Jim, I'm really bad when I read a book that I want to skip to the end and see that last chapter. And there's been a lot of buildup, but I want everybody out there to really pay attention, because what we're talking about here is looking for opportunities as we come out of this crisis. What we've been laying the stage for is to how to get you in position to take full advantage of those opportunities. And so the next thing we're going to look at is, how does this work for me? Jim showed you how to build assets, and I showed you how to have the right tool to allow you to leverage so you can build assets and create wealth. And so now we're going to look at a couple of examples that is really going to show you where the rubber hits the road, how you can take action and utilize your policies to create investments that are correlated or defined by the stock market. And that's what's important.
Absolutely. So let's look at this. Now, You know, this isn't our opinion. We're just, and a lot of these things, we're just using math. I love the numbers that Justin put out there on that family that happens to be all of us as the United States, right? And it's just numbers. It's not our opinion, and we're not using some fancy software to try to show you something or convince you of something. This is just math. And so I'm just going to use a real estate calculator. Okay. Now this is just an example. Okay. It's just meant for demonstration purposes. And I'm not going to put in here all the expenses. This is a great little calculator, and there's a lot of these on the internet that you can get for free. But I'm not going to put the tax information and everything else in there because all that's going to be the same. I'm just going to compare the ways that I could buy this property. Okay. And by the way, this is a great property. You guys would all want to buy it. Okay. It's $200,000. That's the value. We're going to pay $200,000, and we're going to have $5,000 of closing costs. So our total price, purchase price, $205. And it's a commercial piece of property, and it's going to produce $2,500 a month of cash flow. All right, so for our analysis, we're going to look at 10 years, and we're going to assume, Justin, that this appreciates at 3% per year. And so we got here's our down payment. We paid cash, $205. Here's our cash flow, right? Our net cash flow. And here's the future value, which is also our net cash out. And here's our rate of return. So if we could buy that property over the next 10 years, our ROR, rate of return, is going to be 16.12%. But this isn't normally how people go out and buy properties. I mean, some people do, okay? But most people, they leverage the bank's money, and they go get a first mortgage. Now, I'm going to assume that this is 80% loan to value, okay? And it's not a mortgage, it's a commercial loan, so it's for 20 years, not 30. And I'm going to assume it's 5% fixed. Here's my payment, okay? So shows my mortgage payment up here. I'm still looking at the 10 years, still 3%, but I got 45 grand in it now. And my net monthly cash flow goes down from 2,500 to 1,444. Future value is the same, but I still owe almost 100 grand on it. So my cash out is only 170. But look what happened to my ROR. Now, why? Well, because I have less money in it. I'm leveraging the bank's money, right? Okay, so then, Justin, for you and me, and we've done this a bunch of times, we're going to use the insurance company's money as well. So the way to use that on this calculator is just to add a second mortgage. Here's 40 grand for the down payment. Now, Nelson taught us to be honest bankers, to pay ourselves back what the bank would require us to pay. So we're going to do the same 5%, 240 months. Here's my payment, $264 per month. So all I do is I add that to my mortgage payments, and I'm looking at 10 years, still I'm looking at 3%. But now my monthly cash flow went down to $1,180. And my loan is higher than it was. It was at 100, a little bit under 100. Now I'm almost 125. So my net cash out, it went down to 145. But I only have $5,000 in this, Justin. And so my ROR went to 370%. That's the power of leveraging the insurance company's money. Now, Justin, could I have borrowed that $5,000 if I had it in cash value in my policy?
Yeah, it could have been 45 instead of 40. Certainly.
Then what would my rate of return be?
Well, since you had no money in it, it would basically be infinite.
That's right. And so that's, again, one of the reasons that I love the infinite banking concept is because this is infinite. My return is infinite. So think about this for a second. My policy grew too, didn't it? Now, this is my policy, my personal policy, and it's a seasoned policy. It's been fully capitalized. It's growing. Okay. From the first year, I had $40,000 in there that I used for the property. It grew at a 5% growth rate for 10 years. So I had, at the end of that, $65,880. Okay. So I got both. I got the $200,000. I got the property, right? Here's my bank loan. Here's my insurance loan, which was interest only. Okay. So I had no money in it other than all I did was pay the interest on the $40,000. And that's going to be paid from cash flow. Right? So I have no cash in. I cashed out 145. My rate of return is infinite. My policy grew to 65,000. So my total is 211,308. You get both. So Justin, you wanted to talk about, any questions on that, Justin?
No, Jim, I think that is that's a phenomenal example, because what you're showing here, again, you go back to your chart, you're showing how you can move from one quadrant to the other, how you can take your saving and put it in the right vehicle, the right storehouse, just like we talked about for the book of Genesis, and then create opportunity. So you could have pulled it all out and bought one house, but here's what Jim is talking about. Now, if you want to truly create wealth and have a plan, you now have a strategy in a way to take savings dollars without giving up the safety, without giving up the interest you would earn on it, without paying any taxes on it, and leverage that into multiple assets. And again, these could be liabilities that you're paying down if that's something you want to do. Have that money flowing back to you and your system instead of another bank. This could be businesses. We have clients that use it and buy businesses. Jim's got a great example where he's done that through his policy. Being able to access cash quickly that allowed him to be able to invest in a business that returned cash flow to him. And then I've got an example, Jim, that I thought was pretty simple. If we could, let's go to the next slide just for a second. So I had a client that had built up a good amount of cash value in his policy, structured the right way. And he came to me, he's in a service business. He said, Justin, I'm not really interested in real estate. It's not something I want to do. I'm trying to pay off debt. Uh-oh, the slide's getting really big. Here we go.
I don't know why it's doing that. All right.
I don't know. I guess it's time for the big finish, huh?
All right, you
guys can see this. Here's what happened.
Yeah.
What's that?
You tell them what happened, and then I'll go to the slide so we can all see it before it gets too big.
So what we got to is his business leased space. It was in downtown Birmingham. He was paying $5,000 a month in rent. So I gave him that. I said, why don't you go to your landlord and tell him you're going to pay your entire year's rent up front, cash up front, and see what kind of discount he'll give you. And so he negotiated, and at first the landlord said, well, I'll give you a month and a half free, which I think would have been a tremendous opportunity. But I said, keep pressing. He ended up getting 2 months free if he would pay all of his rent up front. So what he did is he got a policy I got a loan from the insurance company against his policy for $50,000. He wrote the landlord a check, and then he had his business repay that to him just like it was doing before. So the business didn't change cash flow whatsoever. So they paid him $5,000 a month back to his pocket. And what you'll see is that was a 20%. If you annualize that, that's like getting a 20% rate of return. Everybody follow me? He paid $50,000 to the landlord, paid himself back $60,000, which was his normal rent, and he kept the 20% in his pocket. And so what that is that is a way of getting creative. Now, Jim, here's what I like to say. Did he pay any tax on the policy gains? No. Did he take any risk whatsoever? Did he change the cash flow of his business whatsoever?
No.
In fact, candidly, I could argue with you that he lowered his risk, because if they go through a healthcare crisis, a COVID-19, who does he now owe the rent to? To the landlord or to himself?
That's right, Tim.
So if cash flow is an issue, he can say, hey, I'm going to take 3 months off until we come out of quarantine, until my business revenue gets back up. Well, the landlord, he's not going to have to get permission from the landlord. He's not going to have to take a chance that they don't renew his lease. He has total control. And guys, that's the thing that I want to kind of end with before I toss it back to Jim. If there's one thing that you take away from today, the most important, I think, characteristic that you want coming out of a crisis is control. Write that word down. You want control. You want control of your savings. You want control of your money. You want control of your situation. The way you minimize risk is controlling it. And what Nelson taught us in this book, and I'm going to hold it up one more time for everybody to see. If you haven't gotten this book, you need to get with the person that invited you, and they can get you a copy of that. You need to read this. You need to go through it. You need to spend some time and ask questions. I know we didn't make an expert out of you tonight, but what I hope we did is give you a couple of ideas that you can research. You can get on the phone with Jim, on the phone with whoever invited you, and you can ask some questions and get out of your comfort zone, as John Maxwell says, and get to the creative zone. Let's get creative in how to protect our wealth and build our wealth. Jim, last closing thoughts?
Yeah, no, those are great thoughts, and I agree. Whoever controls the money makes the money. And you think about that, and you mentioned that I've used this to buy into, start 11 businesses. And I think about right now all of the employees' jobs that we've saved. In one of the businesses that we bought, I think there was 58 jobs. In the company that owned it, they were going to shut the business down. And saving 58 jobs in a community, and then this is a pretty small community in Nebraska. And that's it. When you say, how do you move to that right side of the quadrants and have fun? I don't know about you, but if you can save 58 jobs, that's fun, right? That's being a service in your community. And it's not just about how do I make the most money, and I hope that I hope that the market goes up, and I hope that I don't make any mistakes. And Justin, you say it and I say it, hope's not a strategy. It's not a very good one, right? And this is a way, it's a participatory sport though, because you got to study this, you got to read books, you got to talk to your coach. That's what Nowlin and Associates is Nowlin Wealth Management and Create Tailwind. That's what we're all about, is coaching you and showing you how to do this and walking you through it step by step by step for you to take control of your financial future and get from the left side of the quadrants to the right side. That's what I got, Justin. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think, guys, we've been an hour. We want to be a good steward of your time. I want to thank you for joining us. Again, I want to encourage you, get with the person that invited you, get your questions answered. But more important than anything, take action. Understand what the problem is. Understand there are solutions. Get creative and take action. And if you do that, you're going to be successful identifying these opportunities as you come out of the crisis. Welcome, everybody. God bless. Have a good night. Jim, thank you, and really enjoyed being with you.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. I really enjoyed it. Look forward to doing more of these and sharing more about infinite banking, what we learned from Nelson. And everybody be safe and take care of your families. And we, on the other side of this, there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and we're here to help you and show you how to take advantage of those opportunities. And we've got lots of professionals in our network that can help as well. So just know, stay strong, hang in there, and we'll all get through this. Have a good night.
Excellent. Good night.